Today, we are going to make a fun twist on a traditional stew recipe. We are making crockpot chicken stew. It is just as easy to make, if not easier to make, than regular beef stew, and it tastes amazing too. Hi, my name's Christina. I'm with eatingonadime.com. Today, thank you so much for joining me in my sister's kitchen. This is not usually my kitchen. This is my sister's kitchen, where we love to show you guys how to make real food for real families that want to eat good without spending $1 million. Eat good on a budget. That's what we like to say. And to celebrate October, we are doing 31 days of crockpot cooking, or we like to call Crocktober. And also, we have a digital cookbook this year for all of Crocktober at a very big discount linked in the description below. So make sure you check that out. Before we get started on this recipe, just in case you haven't watched any of our videos yet, let's talk about what crockpots we use. I am using a 6-quart crockpot for today's recipe. That's pretty much the standard size. You're usually going to have 6 to 8. That's going to work great for this one. This is just a regular Crockpot brand with a ceramic insert. It works great. We also love what's called multi-cookers. Those are the ones with the non-stick insert, and those work great. We have a post of all of our favorite crockpots linked in the description below for you. So if you're in the market for a new one, check that out. They're awesome. We love them. But don't worry, if you have a crockpot and it's working great, this recipe will work great for it as well. So first, let's start with some chicken. For this chicken stew recipe, I like to use boneless, skinless chicken breasts, around 2 to 3 of them, depending on the size. Have you guys seen the size of some of these chicken breasts nowadays? So if you go to the grocery store and yours are massive, just use 2. Mine were the little bit smaller ones, so I'm throwing in 3. Our rule of thumb with soup, stews, and all of that is use the amount of protein that your family will eat. I'm sure you already know how much you would eat. I know for my family of 4, I know that these 3 chicken breasts are gonna be just enough. So that's what I do. Then let's add some veggies. We are gonna add some celery and some carrots. On the celery, we're gonna do 2 stalks of the celery. I've already cut off any tough ends, and you just wanna dice this, or slice it, I guess is a better word, just like stew size. So enough to fit on a spoon, not really big, but not super small like a soup. A stew is the veggies are a little bit bigger most of the time. So I'm just gonna slice these into little half rounds, and it's gonna work perfect. Once it's diced, just add it right into that crock pot with the chicken, and then we're going to add in some carrots. Again, it's a stew. We're gonna dice them into larger pieces. I've already peeled these just to save time. It's about 4 carrots. Just dice them up. Let's see if I can do a couple at a time. It's easier to dice veggies not while someone's filming you, okay? It's like once that camera comes on, it feels like you forget what you're doing. I'm just gonna cut off the ends here, and we will just throw these right into the crock pot as well. Again, it's a stew, so you're wanting chunkier veggies, but make it to the consistency that you like. So if you're like, Christina, I like my vegetables smaller, then by all means cut them smaller. The crock pot is very forgiving. You do not have to be exact or perfect, and it's still gonna come out great in this recipe. And now we're gonna add a little onion. You need 1 whole onion. I am using a white onion today. It works great. You can use a yellow one if you prefer. I would not do the red. I think the flavor is just gonna be too potent. We are going to dice this into large pieces as well. So just cut off the end and peel the skin off of the onion. And then dice it into large pieces. We do this for 2 reasons. 1, we do it because it's a stew, and that's just the way stew is. And 2, we do this because my sister and I both have kind of kids that can be weird about onions in their recipe. And if you do them large enough, they can just pick them right out. So I cut it in half. I'm going to cut it in half again and then cut that in half again. And it's just going to be big chunks. And then separate it and add it to the crock pot. I leave that center piece out, but that's just my personal preference. Some people just throw it in. You do you, boo. Now it's time to add some potatoes. Can't have stew without potatoes. I am using 2 russet potatoes. I'm going to peel them and dice them again into pretty large pieces. You can use red potatoes. You could use baby potatoes. If you use either of those options, you wouldn't have to peel them. The red potatoes, I think peeling it would be optional, but you still want them to be diced up into large pieces that are all about the same size so that it cooks evenly. You can even use a sweet potato if you would prefer. When I make stews, I usually throw in a little sweet potato and regular potatoes because I have one kid that likes regular potatoes and one kid that likes sweet potatoes. And when it's all thrown in there, everybody's happy. All right, we're just gonna get these peeled up and then we will get them diced and added to the crock pot. They're all peeled. Let's get these diced up. So to dice them, I just cut in half the long way just for quicker. And then you can do them in half again or in thirds depending on the sizes of your potatoes and how big you would like them. I'm just gonna do them in halves and then just go down and dice them based on the size that you want. So this is what I'm doing. Whatever size you choose to make them, just be consistent across all your potatoes so that they cook evenly in your crock pot. You don't have to be exact, just, you know, around the same size. You don't want like a huge piece and then a small piece, and then you have a little mashed potato in your stew. Let's get these added to the crock pot. Crockpot cooking is our favorite because you literally just dump it all in. It's easy. Now it's time to add the seasonings. These are the things that make it taste good, so don't skip it. We're going to use a teaspoon of minced garlic. We love using the pre-minced garlic that you can get in the jar at the grocery store. It tastes amazing and it saves time. So a teaspoon of that, a teaspoon of salt, of course. We gotta have some salt. We are using Himalayan pink salt, but you can use whatever salt you love. And then a half a teaspoon of poultry season and a half a teaspoon of dried thyme leaves. That's gonna add so much flavor. Last but not least, we are going to add 1 beautiful bay leaf. This we are gonna remove before we serve, but it adds lots of flavor, especially to the broth. So 1 bay leaf in. And then add 4 cups of chicken broth right to the crock pot. So this big container is 4 cups. So I just do 1 of these 32-ounce containers and it works great. Just dump it all over the ingredients. Perfect. Only thing left to do is cook it. Make sure you put your lid on your crock pot and you can cook this on low or cook it on high. If you cook it on low, it's gonna be about 6 to 8 hours until the potatoes are tender and cooked through and that chicken shreds easily. You can also cook it on high. It'll be half that amount, so 3 to 4 hours. Again, you're looking for the same thing. The chicken shreds easily and the potatoes are nice and tender. I love the 2 options because you can easily put this on before you go to work in the morning, or if you forget, you can throw it in on your lunch break too. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cook this on over to high and I will see you in a few hours. I'm back. Okay, so it's been cooking. It looks great. What you're looking for here is you want that chicken to be nice and easily shred with 2 forks, just like that. So when you're testing to see if it's done and ready to serve, just get your 2 forks in there and just do that. And then if it shreds, it's done. If it doesn't, let it cook a little bit longer. But honestly, in most crock pots, if you're going on low for about 6 to 7 hours or on high for about 3 to 4, it's gonna be able to shred easily. So there we go. Now we're just gonna shred the chicken and stir it right back into the crock pot. You can check those potatoes too to make sure they're fork tender. Usually if the chicken is good, the potatoes are good too. So these potatoes are good. So all the chicken is out and shredded. This is a good time to fish out that bay leaf, guys. It did its job, but we don't want to eat it. Once all that chicken's out, you can usually see it pretty quick and just pull it right on out. Throw that away, and then you just dump that chicken and stir it right back into the crock pot. And then the last step I like to do is just thicken the sauce to make it more like stew quality. Stew quality is just a little thicker. I don't want this to be soup consistency. I want the sauce to be like almost like a runny gravy. I don't know if that's an appetizing phrase, but that's like a thin gravy. So to do that, we're going to add a cornstarch slurry to this meal. And what that is just water with a little cornstarch dissolved into it. So get 2 tablespoons cold water, 2 tablespoons cornstarch, and mix those together. The reason you want to mix them together before adding to the crock pot is that cornstarch will get really clumpy if you stir it into hot liquid. So it's best to dissolve it in cold liquid first and then stir it into your hot liquid into the crock pot. I usually just do this in a measuring cup because it's easy and quick. There we go. It's dissolved. Just stir it right in. If your crock pot is a multi-cooker and it has a saute or a stovetop feature, go ahead and bump it over to that feature and it will thicken in just a couple of minutes. This one does not. So for a traditional one that's not a multi-cooker, I just recommend that you switch it over to high. If you're not already on it, I was already cooking on high, so I'm still on high. And let it cook for about 20 to 30 minutes while it's covered, and it should thicken right up. Okay, I'm gonna let that set, and I'll be right back again. Okay, it's been cooking for a while, and I just wanna show you guys how it's thickened. So it's not super thin, but it just thickens it a little bit, and it adds a ton to the soup. So the slurry is optional, but we definitely recommend it. All right, friends, it is ready. My favorite thing about this meal is it's truly a one-pot meal. It's got chicken, it's got potatoes, it's got vegetables. It's very filling, healthy, hearty, and it's great. When I make a stew, I just love making our easy cornbread recipe. It's easy homemade cornbread that's very popular. Go to eatingonadime.com and search cornbread and it'll pull right up. You could also just like do stew with a little salad, and that would be great as well. But the point is you don't really have to serve it with a lot of things very heavy because it's very filling in and of itself. So to top this, just because we like to be fancy, I'm going to add a little fresh chopped parsley. This is totally optional. If I was making this for my family at home, I wouldn't add this, honestly, because they don't care, but I like it, so I'm adding it today. Fresh parsley to garnish the top, and then it's ready to enjoy. Perfect. Now you can keep the leftovers refrigerated for up to 5 days in an airtight container. I would heat it in the microwave just so the potatoes don't turn to mush. It doesn't freeze great in the cooked form just because the texture of the potatoes get kind of weird when you thaw it back up and reheat it up. So, but it will keep in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends, in my sister's kitchen. I hope I inspired you to make dinner at home in your favorite crock pot. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any more of our easy family-friendly recipes. And in October, you don't want to miss any of these delicious, fun crock pot recipes that we're doing all month long. Make sure you go to the description to check out today's recipe and that digital Crocktober cookbook that's really discounted. You don't want to miss that. All right, I cannot wait any longer. This smells and looks amazing. I am ready to enjoy it. You guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. It's time for dinner. Bye, friends.